My name is Angela Broadus, and I am a 5th grade science teacher here in Maryland. And today this video is about creating your Google Classroom and setting up the structure or framework for your virtual classroom. So before I go ahead and get started, please make sure to subscribe to my videos, especially geared towards distance learning. You'll be able to find a plethora of resources to assist you to make your life and your work easier. So I look forward to continuing to share content related to that with you all. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing that you're going to do in order to create your Google Classroom is you'll be on the Google homepage just like I'm on right now. When you're on the Google homepage, you're going to go ahead and go up into the upper right hand corner and click on these 9 little boxes. When you click on these 9 little boxes, you'll notice a bunch of different applications, and we're actually going to go to Classroom. When we go ahead and go into Classroom, we're going to go ahead and create our Google Classroom. And in order to do that, you need to come up to the upper right hand corner again and click on this plus button. And when you click on that plus button, go ahead and click on Create Class. And for the purposes of this video, this class will be titled Virtual Demo Class and Create. And so once my class is created, I'm going to really quickly just go through the different tabs you're going to notice at the very top of your Google Classroom. So this is our Stream tab where you can provide announcements to your class in regards to the Zoom link for your upcoming live lesson or any other important announcements that you would like to make to your students. The Classwork tab is the tab where we'll be working in order to create the structure and framework for your virtual classroom. The People tab is where you can find any other teachers who are co-teachers for your class. You can also find all the students who are a part of this particular Google Classroom, in addition to the parents or guardians who have also joined the Google Classroom. And then lastly is the Grades tab, where the students will be able to see the grades that they receive for assignments that you've returned back to them with a grade, and so on and so forth. So like I said before, we're going to be working in the Classwork tab, so let's go ahead and get started and jump in there. In the Classwork tab, this is where we're going to create our framework for our virtual classroom. So when I go to this Create button, and then I go ahead and click on Topic, that's where I can go ahead and create my different headings for my classroom. So the first heading that I'm going to create is Attendance. And I actually created a Google form last spring that was very effective during distance learning that helped me to easily keep track of attendance, and it was pretty simple. And I'll create a video on how I created that attendance form later. The next heading I'm going to create is my virtual data wall, and I'll create another video in regards to how you create a virtual data wall. Another topic or heading I'm going to create is Science and Social Studies lessons and lesson recordings. So one thing that I should have mentioned is that 5th grade is departmentalized, meaning that I teach science, social studies, and possibly health. And there's another teacher that teaches math and another teacher that teaches reading and oral written. So my Google Classroom is more so geared towards science and social studies, since those are the content areas that I do teach. But if you are watching this video and let's say you are a self-contained teacher, well, all you would have to do is create the other appropriate headings that I might be missing from this video. So in addition to having my science and social studies lessons and lesson recordings headings, I'm also going to create, heading for science, one for social studies, one for homework, and one other heading. This is our last heading for now, at least for assessments. I'm going to title this quizzes and tests, just like that. Now, as I look at the different headings and topics I have on my screen, I don't currently like the ordering of it, so I'm actually going to rearrange it to my liking. And it's really simple. There's one of two ways you can change the ordering of the headings. Either you can click on the three little dots where I am and select move down, or you could do the easier way, which is just to drag and drop the headings where you want them. Because as you can see, moving down and moving up, that's going to take quite a bit of time and we don't have time to waste. So let's just go ahead. I know I want my attendance at the very top of my Google Classroom. After that, I know I want my virtual data wall under my attendance. And then I want my science and social studies lessons and lesson recordings to go under my virtual data wall. Then science, then social studies, and then I'll put assessments before homework. I like this order currently. And so really quickly to explain each heading or topic, attendance is where I'm going to have that attendance tracker that I mentioned earlier. It's going to go under the attendance heading. Under my virtual data wall is where I'll have my virtual data wall for my students. For science and social studies lessons and lessons recordings, these are where I'm going to post any lessons and lesson recordings for students who either were absent from a live lesson, whether it's due to a family emergency or unforeseen absence, whatever the case may be. They'll be able to locate all lessons and lessons recordings right under that heading. For science, I'm going to have all my assignments that are relevant to science under that heading. So any assignments that I reference in a lesson that pertains to science will be found under that science heading. The same for social studies. Any assignments that are mentioned in the live lesson for social studies, it will go under social studies. And then for assessments and quizzes and tests, I'll have all my quizzes and tests for both content area under assessments, and the same for homework. All homework for science and social studies, the students will be able to locate under homework. And it's very important to have very clear and precise headings because you want to make sure that you avoid and minimize as much confusion as possible for the students. And this is one way that I've realized over the years that works really, really well. And it's a system I've kept for years and years. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is how do I go about numbering my assignments in a way that helps my students easily identify or locate their assignments. So I've come up with a system that was based on a book that I read about on Google Classroom years back that's been really effective. I've used this system for the past maybe 4 to 5 years and it's worked really well. And so what I do is I number every single assignment in Google Classroom. So if it's in Google Classroom, it automatically has a number. The only exception might be my virtual data wall in the attendance. But outside of that, every assignment in Google Classroom will have a number. Why? Because what I've come to find over the years is that students are always able to easily identify the assignments with a number. So let me share an example of the numbering system that I use. So let's say I have a science assignment in my live lesson. I'm going to go ahead and number this assignment as number 01, science. And let's say this is based on this first assignment is text that I would like for them to read during the explanation section of my 5E lesson. So this might be HMH, Science Dimensions. That's the name of our textbook. Unit 3, lesson 4, what is a weight? And then I would have really clear and explicit directions under my instructions. And I would tell my students directions. So please read pages 184 to 189. You can either read the F, access your textbook online via Clever. Done once you. Alrighty, so I have the directions for my students, and because I mentioned an attached PDF, I actually go ahead and I actually download a PDF version of the text, and I do attach it for those students who may have difficulties for whatever reason in accessing the textbook through our Clever portal. And then I make sure that for topic, it goes under science. Make sure I put my due date. So let's say this was due September 9th. And then it's for all students. Yep. And then I go ahead and click assign. So I'm just trying to show you guys different examples. I know that I didn't attach the PDF because I'm going to go ahead and delete that assignment later on. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you another assignment. So let's say I have assignment number 02, social studies. And let's say the students are completing and contrast different forms of government. Analytical essay. Let's say the students were supposed to do an analytical essay comparing and contrasting the different forms of government. So state, local, federal. Let's say different branches of government. All right. So let's say for the purpose of this assignment, the students are comparing and contrasting different branches of government. It's an analytical essay. I actually would provide a copy that every student can write in. If this assignment will be done in a Google Doc. And I could go ahead and I'll do another video explaining that later on. But let's say that's the assignment. For my directions, I actually would say, please, let's say carefully read the directions in the Google Doc. And of course, in the Google Doc, which is where the students will be writing their essay, I would actually have explicit directions listed there. And then I would just go ahead. This one goes under social studies. I put the date that it's due, and then I assign it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing again. I just want to give you guys more examples so you understand the flow. Let's say we had a quiz and it was due number 03. I'm actually going to put the content that the quiz is for, but this will still go under the quiz heading or topic. So let's say this was a science quiz on HMH dimensions, unit 3, lesson 4, and I put quiz. And then for the directions, I would say carefully read, follow the directions in the Google form. And once again, I would have clear and explicit directions in the Google form that I attach for my quiz. So the topic will be assessments. And then I put the due date, of course, say it's due then. And then, of course, I always, because this is just an example, I know I didn't attach the quiz, but I would have attached the quiz. Actually, let me just go ahead and attach a quiz so that you guys can see an example. Google Drive. I'm just going to attach a quiz that I've created in the past. So let's say this is the quiz that I'm attaching. I select it and then I would go ahead and click insert. And voila. And also I would make sure that I have grade importing on. And then I would click assign. And that is that. Now let me just speak really quickly on this topic. Because I'm departmentalized, that means I teach 3 class sections. So we have section 51, 52, and 53 for math, science, social studies, all that jazz. So I actually have 3 different Google Classrooms. I have one for section 51, one for section 52, and one for section 53. And the reason why I do it that way is that it's just my preference, and it's always helped me when it comes time for entering in grades. It's just easier for me to enter and input grades and just to properly differentiate my assignments for each class based on their performance and ability level and so on and so forth. So that's why I personally will create 3 Google Classrooms so that I have one for each class section. It just helps with flow. It makes things a lot more easy. And in light of distance learning, I highly recommend, if you are departmentalized, to create 3 different Google Classrooms, because this will also help with classroom management. I can only imagine, and I'm sure there's some people who've had really great success in having all 3 class sections in one classroom, but from my experience, I've noticed that I've always been successful when I've had 3 separate Google Classrooms. So once again, if you are departmentalized, that is up to you. If you decide you want to have one Google Classroom that houses all of your class sections, feel free to have at it. If you decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and create 3 separate class sections, if you teach 3 class sections, go ahead and do that also. I highly recommend doing it that way, separating it for each class section, but of course it's all up to you and based on your preference. So that is just an example for how you would set up your Google Classroom and how you would number your assignments. And let me just do this really quickly for my self-contained teachers. If you are self-contained, the way that I would adjust this Google Classroom, I'm actually going to do it right now for you all. I would change my science and social studies lessons and lessons recording to lessons and lesson recordings, so that it just houses all content. And then of course I would create a topic for reading. I would create a topic oral and written communication. And I would create a topic math, and one more for health. And I would just move things around based on your preference. So let's say I put reading after lessons and lessons recording. Then after reading, I would put oral and written communication, because the 2 go hand in hand. I would then put math, science, and social studies. And then for health, I would put it under I would put it after social studies. That's just my preference. Oops. And that is all. As you guys can notice one more time, all my assignments that are numbered, I just pick up from the last number that I had before. So my next assignment would be number 04, and I would put the content area that's specific for. So number 04 reading, analyze the text, and then give directions for that assignment. Then number 05, oral and written communication, and just keep that numbering system going. And one thing that you'll notice is that even when you're creating your live lessons, within your live lessons, you could just reference the assignment number with the content that it goes under. So let's say in my lesson, I have an engagement activity number 07 for science, and I put the whole title. The students can easily go into Google Classroom. They know, okay, it's number 7, so I'm looking for number 7. I know it's under science, and they just go to that science heading, and they'll be able to easily locate the assignment. And let me just show you a class from the past. So let's do section 51. Let's say my students I assigned an assignment, let's say number 204. The students know that it's for science, so they go to the science heading, they look for number 204, bam, they're easily able to find it. All the assignments are numbered, they all go under the appropriate heading or topic, and it just limits a lot of confusion. And the students get into an easy habit of being able to locate assignments quickly. And that is that. So it's really simple. It's not complicated at all. This is how I've set up my Google Classroom, not just when we're doing distance learning in the spring, but just in general when I use Google Classroom throughout the year, during the school year, and it works really, really well. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if the system worked for you. If you did decide to use it, let me know if it didn't work for you. Let me know if you have any other suggestions or comments, and you can feel free to leave that in the comment section down below. Alrighty, thank you so much, and have a great day.